The couple had appeared on a Korean TV show, encouraging adoptions, and they seemed to be a wholesome, loving family. On the TV, the adoptive father On said, "I wanted to show the world that not only celebrities, but also people like us can choose to adopt. Adoption is not something to be ashamed of, but rather something to be celebrated." 8 months later, the child they adopted would be dead.
There's monsters here in human form. They abuse their trust, swallow us whole, then regurgitate ashes to feed their lust.
Hello, my name is Holly. Welcome to the Murder She Shed, the place we discuss rarely told true crime right from my she shed. You also may hear a little thunder occasionally. It's raining today. It is Oklahoma. There could be a tornado any minute. I may have to run to the shelter. You never know. But hey, bring excitement into your life. So hang out with me right here in my Murder She Shed, usually at least once weekly. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because a nerdy girl can sometimes get lost in this big YouTube world, and I often do. So help a girl out. And by girl, I mean me. Thank you. Yeah, and all that. An and Jang from South Korea were known to be devout Christians who wanted a younger sibling for their little 4-year-old daughter. The couple were both children of Protestant pastors. Jang's mother was a church director of the daycare center. Jang graduated from Hindong University. I don't know how you say that, but anyway, she graduated. She then married On May 17, 2013. Jang was an interpreter who studied overseas. On worked as a broadcasting management employee at the headquarters of CBS, a Protestant broadcaster, not the same CBS as we know as America. I guess it's some kind of Christian broadcasting service. Yeah, that's what CBS would stand for, I suppose. They participated in volunteer services and expressed their desire to adopt even before marriage. They wanted an adopted child even more than they said they wanted a biological child. They wanted to help the little children in the world. Jeong-In was born June 10, 2019 to a single mother who believed her new baby would be better off without her and just being adopted. Financially, she could not support Jeong-In, so at just 8 days old, Jeong-In was given up to an adoption agency called Holt Children's Welfare Society. Jeong-In lived with her foster parents for the first 6 months of her life, and she seemed so happy and healthy. She loved music and always had the cutest little smile to give those who showed her attention. Her chubby cheeks earned her the nickname Little Peach by her foster family. On August 2019, Jeong-In was matched with what looked like the very most perfect family for the now 8-month-old little girl. An and Jang already had a 4-year-old biological girl who looked very happy and well cared for, so the agency believed it would be the perfect fit for Jeong-In. Jang and An both passed the adoptive screening, including a psychological test which qualified them for adoption. Jang seemed really excited about the upcoming adoption as she would come visit Jeong-In monthly during the adoption process. Foster parents thought she looked so happy to be able to adopt Jeong-In, and they were excited for Jeong-In, although they would miss her so much. Jeong-In moved in with them in February 2020. She weighed 19 pounds when she was officially adopted by Jang and An. In video footage filmed by her foster mom shortly before Jeong-In's adoption, she seemed curious, giggly, and full of life. Soon her life would take a drastic turn, and her later pictures would show the change in Jeong-In. The new family seemed like such a happy, perfect family that they were picked for a show about adoption. In the show, you can already see the change in Jeong-In as the family rattle on about how important adoption is and how adoption had completed their family. It just seemed like such a false front they were putting in. You could just see the pain in Jeong-In's eyes on that video. The first report of possible abuse came only 3 months after Jeong-In had been adopted. Her teacher at daycare made the first report of suspected child abuse on May 2020 after she found unusual bruises on Jeong-In's thighs. There were bruises on both thighs, and there were about 6 fingernail-sized bruises on her stomach. Jang made the excuse that the bruises occurred while An was giving Jeong-In a massage. The couple then kept Jeong-In at home instead of sending her to daycare. From July to September, she only showed up at the daycare center 6 times. During the same period, their biological daughter had no absences from the daycare center. In June, while she is still being kept home by Jang, the police received a report that Jeong-In was seen locked alone in a parked car. After this incident, a social worker at Holt's Children Welfare Society paid Jang a visit to her home and noticed Jeong-In's shoulders were slightly sunken and her skin was discolored in various places. Jane explained that she left Jeong-In alone in her car for about a minute while she was dropping off her first child at daycare. But the social worker later found out she had left her unintended child for more than an hour. That wasn't the first time. It happened many times that she would leave Jeong-In in the car. Remember, this was summer. I guess in Korea, what I understand, it can reach up to 80 degrees in summer, which is not hot for a lot of us. But inside of a car, that could get quite hot. So that could have been dangerous for that little girl. After Jeong-In returned to daycare in September, her teacher looked her body over because she felt that Jeong-In was being abused at home. And since no one did anything the last time she had turned the abuse allegations in, she decided to take Jeong-In to the doctor herself after she discovered more evidence of abuse. The pediatrician that she took her to noticed a big difference in Jeong-In's appearance since her first examination in May. Her skin was a darker shade. She was very thin for her age and had multiple bruises on her body. She didn't seem to have the energy to walk or even cry. She had lost 2 pounds since the last exam. The doctor then filed the 3rd police report. So when the police showed up, the doctor told them with conviction that Jeong-In must be separated from her adoptive parents. The doctor didn't hear back, so he assumed that adequate steps had been taken. However, there have been no steps really taken. They made up a whole new set of lies, and they got to keep Jeong-In. On October 12, 2020, Jeong-In's daycare teacher recalled how Jeong-In kept asking to be cuddled. The teacher also kept checking Jeong-In's body for any new wounds. A CCTV footage captured the teacher finding Jeong-In's abnormally extended abdomen. When she brought it up with On, he simply brushed it off. The next day, when Jeong-In arrived at daycare, the workers noticed she was having trouble standing and walking. She's 16 months old at this time. She refused to eat or drink. Her belly was also swollen and she did not cry. She also didn't have any soiled diapers the entire day. The daycare teachers called Jang and she said that Jeong-In was fine. When Jeong-In attempted to take a sip of milk, she began to shiver. The teacher expressed concern over Jeong-In's behavior that day when On picked her up that evening. He forced Jeong-In to walk, saying she was just fine. She was all right. The teachers insisted he take her to the hospital, but again he refused. Jang dropped off her bio daughter at daycare the next day and told them that Jeong-In would not be there. Jeong-In left Jeong-In at home alone while she dropped her daughter off. And before coming home, she went shopping for lingerie. Jeong-In was home alone by herself, abused, neglected, and dying. After returning home, Jang decided that she could take Jeong-In to the hospital. She called a taxi, but the driver noticed the baby turning blue and insisted Jang call an ambulance. She refused. As Jeong-In lay dying in the taxi, Jang was shopping on her phone for fish cakes for her dad's birthday party in 2 days. Jeong-In was admitted to the emergency room for cardiac arrest after arriving in the taxi. The medical staff were able to regain her consciousness for a brief period of time. The ER doctor managed to grab some CT scans, and the results made his blood boil. Jeong-In's CT scans revealed that her entire abdomen had been filled with blood. When the organ ruptured, blood and infection filled up her abdomen, thus causing it to rot. Jeong-In could have survived if she was brought in early, but unfortunately, this wasn't the case. Baby Jeong-In died at just 16 months old, and everyone would soon see what these monsters did to her to put her in the grave. Jeong-In was suffering abuse within a month of being adopted. For 8 months, Jeong-In was regularly beaten and starved because her adopted parents did not like the smell of her feces. They didn't want to change her. They forced hot food into her mouth, resulting in blisters around her lips. They often left Jeong-In home alone for hours at a time and locked her in a dark room each day starting at 7 p.m. They overturned her stroller while she was inside it to scare her when she was crying. They deliberately tripped her while she was walking. They slapped her when she cried and laughed as they did. There were also times Jeong-In's adoptive parents left Jeong-In in the car by herself while they went out to eat at a restaurant. They left the little hungry baby neglected and alone inside the vehicle while they ate. They allowed Jeong-In to play near a swimming pool without adult supervision for an entire day and would hang her by her armpits for no reason other than just to cause her pain. I guess they enjoyed her being in pain. The ER doctor found that she had multiple bone fractures in her collarbone, ribs, and arms, with some of the bones having been broken again after self-healing 2 or 4 months prior. That she had countless bruises on her face, neck, ears, and legs. The cause of death was ruled as amputation of her pancreas and traumatic damage to her internal organs, including severe intestinal rupture caused by heavy external forces. She hadn't cried at the daycare center the day before because it would have been too painful for the little girl to cry. It is said when the intestines ruptured and the air leaks out, even healthy adult men feel pain so severe that they faint. Pancreas is an organ that exists deep within the human body and is surrounded by several other organs, so it would take a lot of force to amputate a pancreas. In fact, I've never heard this in a child abuse case ever before in my life. Just something that would be very rare to happen because it would take such great force to cause it. An experiment was done to see how an adult woman could have caused that kind of damage to a child. And it would take approximately 3,800 to 4,200 newtons to cut the pancreas of a 3-year-old child. It was concluded that a woman jumping from a couch with all her weight into the child could cause that kind of damage from an experiment that was done. Jeong-In would have been in such a state of severe pain since the day before her death that drinking water or milk, let alone food, would have caused severe nausea and pain. After the police did a search of the house and phones, they found 800 videos of Jang filming Jeong-In's pain and torture. On one video the day before Jeong-In's death, Jang was seen forcing her to walk and filming Jeong-In's face in pain as she attempted to do what her mother asked. Another video shown in court, On is seen trying to force Jeong-In to clap, and she is seen crying. In one video played for the jury was seen crying as it was such a hard video to watch. It was the last video of Jeong-In on the day of her death. The little girl is dying, and her mother was forcing her to eat where she could even barely breathe. Jang is shaking the camera as she films and cursing at Jeong-In while pain in Jeong-In's face could be seen as tears streamed down her face. She refused to eat. She was too sick to eat. Pain she must have been in at that moment. And all that woman could do was film her pain. I know she watched these films later out of enjoyment or wanted to. I don't know. It's just horrible why you would film your child in pain. I never understand that. I've seen that happen before, and I don't know. You have to be very sadistic to do something like that. The court also showed a CCTV video of Jane boarding the elevator of her adoptive father On's company, CBS building, with Jeong-In in a stroller. As soon as the elevator door opened, Jane pushed the stroller hard into the wall, and Jeong-In barely held on by holding onto the handle. Afterwards, Jane screamed at her own bio daughter next to Jeong-In, and as soon as the door opened, she nervously pushed the stroller again, causing Jeong-In's neck to jerk and her feet to lift up in the air. Due to the video evidence they found, most of Jeong-In's abuse was proven to be from her adoptive mother. Jane's downstairs neighbor would testify in court that the morning of Jeong-In's death at 9:40 a.m., he heard some extremely loud noises from above as if dumbbells were falling on the ground about 4 or 5 times. The neighbor went upstairs to check if everything was fine, but only Jane answered the door while her biological daughter peeked out. Jane apologized for the noise and said everything was just fine. Text messages between the couple were further proof of the abuse. On February 3rd, 2020, when Jeong-In was sick, the adoptive mother messaged the adoptive father saying, "Her cough even sounds like a joke. I'm just going to leave her snot. I'm not going to wipe her face." She said, "My head hurts, so I'm going to take some medicine." The adoptive father responded, "It's better to raise them without giving them medicine, but just make sure you take your medicine." On March 2020, the adoptive mother also messaged the adoptive father saying, she doesn't cry when the nursery teachers hold her. She was frustrating all day. I gave her just an apple today. Well, at least I didn't abuse her today. The adoptive father then replies by saying, annoying bitch. I think she's getting more annoying because she's like that, starting from the early morning. In another conversation from August 21st, 2020, the adoptive mother talks about starving Jeong-In as she told her husband not to feed the child until she says so. She wrote, she starves until I say I'll give her food. To which the adoptive father responded, she's being freaking annoying. It's ringing in my ears. It's annoying to bring her out. Should we leave her at the house? In another conversation that was recovered from September 15, 2020, the adoptive parents are once again talking about starving little Jeong-In. Jang wrote, this child must be crazy. She still doesn't freaking eat. To which An responded, just starve her the whole day. Jang continued to write, she won't die even if we starve her for 3 days. I feel like cursing and want to beat her up, but I'm holding back. On the day of Jeong-In's death on October 13, 2020, Jang messaged her husband notifying him of Jeong-In's condition, but An responded by saying, just take her to the hospital for the sake of formality. Jang expressed how cumbersome it was bringing Jeong-In to the hospital, saying, I guess that would be good even though it's cumbersome. While on bail, An was interviewed and he said, let me start by saying that we believe that 3 reports of child abuse have been filed against us due to prejudice surrounding adoptive families. And that's what we will argue in court. He said she was born in our hearts and we're extremely sad about her leaving us like this. It's especially hard because people aren't even giving us time to grieve. We're in a situation where we have to keep on defending ourselves about how we didn't cause her death. He was fired from his job at CBS. When Jang was out on bail, she attended her father's birthday party and was seen drinking and laughing with her family. This was just 2 days after her daughter had died. She was partying, laughing, and drinking with her family. She cared nothing about this little girl. Nothing. I don't even know. I guess they just adopted her just for clout. An was sentenced to 5 years in prison for child abuse and aiding and abetting Jang's violence toward their adoptive daughter. Jang was given life in prison for the murder of her adoptive daughter. But later, Jang's sentence was lowered to just 35 years. Little Jeong-In's death sparked outrage in Korea, calling for stiffer penalties for abuse. The hashtag I'm sorry Jeong-In was used throughout Korea because everybody was so upset with this little girl's abuse. It was one of the most talked about cases in Korea of child abuse. It is sad that this little girl had to go through such pain for any reform in the system to be made. May you rest in peace, little Jeong-In. You were such a beautiful little girl. All right, guys, before I go, I just want to let you know that I might get one more video out before I go on vacation, but I am going to be on vacation for about 2 weeks. So no video out from me for about 2 weeks. I might have time to make one more before I leave. I'm not absolute positive. If I don't want to make one this week, then it'll actually be 3 weeks till I come back if I don't make another one this week. So I will miss y'all, but I probably won't be thinking about these cases while I'm gone. I'm going to get my brain a rest. Oh, I know I won't because I'm going to be on a cruise ship dancing and eating way more than I should, even though I'm on a diet. But a diet does not exist on a cruise, does it? Well, I'm going to be headed to Alaska. Never been to Alaska, so I'm very excited about this. And I will see you guys when I get back. I love y'all and I thank you for supporting my channel. Each and every one of you guys are appreciated. And maybe by the time I get back, I'll actually have 21,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. I don't know if you can tell Simon and Max by. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go in the house and film them. I know Max is behind me, but Simon, I don't know where he is. So I'm going to go in the house and film them real quick for you guys so you can tell them bye. All right, Simon's very sad because the four-wheeler's broken. And it will not run until we get back from Alaska because my husband cannot fix it. So he won't get to race the four-wheeler probably for about a month. I know I said that word. I know. And he's very sad about this. He's in mourning for the loss of his four-wheeler. I'm sorry, bub, but it is what it is. Yeah, Dad don't have time to fix it before we go on our trip. And my son is watching him while we're going, so he's going to have fun with that and no four-wheeler. Because Simon is a lot to keep busy. A lot to keep busy. Anyway, all right, tell him bye. See you next time at the Murder She Shed. Are you there? See you next time, Murder She Shed. Now let's turn the camera to Max so we can say bye. Hey, say bye. Say bye to everybody. We love y'all. See you next time. I know. You got to get the next word in. Okay. Say bye. All right, bye.
There's monsters here in human form. They abuse their trust. Swallow us whole, then regurgitate ashes to feed their lust. Monsters say they love us.